Did your father or father figure teach you how to become rich? You might be wondering, why did I ask you that question? Well, we'll dive into Robert Kiyosaki's famous finance book of all time that would make you realize something. It's entitled Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Just a bit of trivia. Did you know that the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad has sold more than 41 million copies? And take note, it's written in 51 languages. Well, that's why it was the trending finance book when this was released last 2002. You might be thinking right now, what's it about this book that made it trending and read several million times? Well, let's first know the man behind this finance book masterpiece, Robert Kiyosaki. Robert Toru Kiyosaki is an American businessman, author, and entrepreneur who was born on April 8, 1947. The Rich Dad Company and Rich Global LLC, two private financial education businesses that teach people about personal finance and business through books and videos, are founded by him. Kiyosaki is also the designer of the cash flow board and software games to teach adults and children about business and financial ideas. The company's primary sources of income are franchisees of the Rich Dad seminars, which are held by independent persons under Kiyosaki's brand name. Also, he's the author of more than 26 books, including the Rich Dad Poor Dad series of international self-published books on personal finance. Let's take a look at what Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad is all about in 3 sentences. First, the book Rich Dad Poor Dad is about Robert Kiyosaki and his 2 fathers. His father, who's considered poor, and the father of his closest friend, who's considered rich, and how both men influence the way he views money and investing. Second, you can be wealthy without having a huge income. Third, wealthy folks make their money doing their bidding. Now here are the 5 big ideas of the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. Number 1. Both the middle class and the poor work for pay. Money works for the wealthy. Number 2. What matters isn't how much money you make, it depends on how much you maintain. Number 3. Wealthy folks amass possessions. The middle class and the poor accumulate obligations that they mistakenly view as assets. Number 4. Financial aptitude is the ability to manage your money, prevent others from stealing it from you, keep it longer, and make it work hard for you. Number 5. Our minds are each of our most valuable possessions. Now here is the poor dad mentality. Poor dad thinks that the greatest way to make money is to work for it as a single salaried employee in a safe position, and that one's wealth is heavily influenced by one's familial background. He thinks that studying and picking the brains of great individuals is one of the most crucial things you can do to maintain your financial stability or gain riches. Many individuals think that this way of thinking can force someone to take a job they don't want to do in order to pay their debts. For the rich dad mentality, Kiyosaki is advised to work so that he can acquire the necessary skills to launch his own firm, Rich Dad. Wealth is created via a range of revenue streams and practical learning. The rich dad grinned and said, "Why not own the ladder?" when the poor dad suggested mounting the ladder. Even though Kiyosaki's own counsel in Rich Dad Poor Dad has generated some controversy, the book does offer a lot of important ideas that might be helpful to anyone trying to broaden their financial horizons. Now here are the 10 major lessons from Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. Lesson number 1. Financial literacy can only be learned through experience. The well-educated poor dad asserts the only way to land a decent job at a huge firm with fantastic benefits is to study hard and achieve good marks. Yet according to the rich dad, the most crucial objective is to understand how money functions so that you can make it work for you. According to Kiyosaki, you need to be an expert in the law, markets, investing, and accounting to be financially savvy. You'll be more successful the more you diversify your skill set. Lesson number 2. Learn to sell. In the book, Kiyosaki is questioned by a woman who has a master's degree in English literature on how to become a best-selling author. He advises her to sign up for a sales training program. Kiyosaki takes up a book from the coffee table and remarks, "There's a reason successful books say best-selling author, not best writing author." He goes on to explain that selling is an essential talent if you want to be wealthy. Expand your comfort zone, focus on your sales skills, and network. You won't ever be able to run your own business if you don't. Lesson number 3. The rich buy assets, not liabilities. Something that puts money in your pocket, such as a bond or house, is considered an asset that you purchase and then rent out to other people. Something that costs you money because it depreciates over time, such as an expensive car or television set, is a liability. It's crucial to be able to tell the two apart. The wealthy acquire assets. Only expenses exist for the poor. The middle class purchases obligations they believe to be assets, claims Kiyosaki. Lesson number 4. Fear and self-doubt are your greatest barriers to success. How the wealthy and the poor deal with fear is the main distinction between them. Poor dad plays it safe and steers clear of danger. Long-term costs may result from this viewpoint. Rich dad asserts that often in the real world, it's not the smart that becomes successful, but the daring. Lesson number 5. Always think in terms of opportunities. Instead of telling his children, "I can't afford it," the rich dad commands them to ask, "How can I afford it?" The first sentence disables a person's brain, allowing them to stop having to think. The second one prompts the brain to look for solutions by opening up possibilities, excitement, and dreams. According to Kiyosaki, the lack of a solid financial foundation is the main reason the majority of the poor and middle class are economically conservative, which means I can't afford to take risks. Before we go to the next lesson, what mindset do you have, and why do you think you have that mindset? Leave your comments down below. If you're receiving value from our financial videos, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to keep the videos coming. Moving on, lesson number 6. Conquer your fears. The majority of us succumb to our worries and let them rule us without even realizing it. For instance, let's say you want to start a bakery and leave your accounting position. Yet concerns about the lack of rewards and stability prevent you from moving on. That is dread and doubt taking control of your decisions. You're prevented from achieving your goals, advancing personally and professionally, and realizing your full potential by fear. This viewpoint may prove to be expensive in the long run. The rich dad asserts that in the real world, the courageous get ahead, not the smart. Lesson number 7. The more you give, the more you receive. You've probably encountered individuals who demand more from life without offering anything in return. They resemble Kiyosaki's poor dad, who joined a union and desired to work less while earning more money. Yet that's not how reality is. You need to put in more effort if you want a higher salary. Even though you might not see results right away, your efforts will eventually pay off with positive results. If not, you should reconsider your strategy and consider whether the project you've committed to is worthwhile. Lesson number 8. Work to learn. People typically take any job that's offered to them. They have to in some circumstances, especially if they're having financial difficulties. They frequently overlook the possibility of using the job to develop a skill in addition to income though. Kiyosaki's rich dad encouraged him to gain a range of life experiences, including working several jobs. In his book, he suggested that readers pursue a second job that would teach them a new skill rather than just working for money and security, both of which he acknowledged were vital. If you pick up useful talents at work, they can come in handy for you later on. Also, you get paid while developing your skills. Decide which job will be able to teach you essential and worthwhile skills the next time you're looking for employment. Lesson number 9. Become wealthy, not just rich. The majority of us work to start businesses that produce regular paychecks. They might frequently be substantial ones. You can get really rich from it, but not prosper. This is so because there's a distinction between wealthy and rich. It all depends on how you spend your money. According to Kiyosaki, if you spend your hard-earned money on luxuries, you may appear wealthy, but in reality, your spending will cause you to fall into poverty. Kiyosaki said the poor and middle class frequently purchase luxury products like large homes, diamonds, furs, jewelry, or yachts because they want to appear wealthy. Although they do appear wealthy, they actually merely continue to rack up credit card debt. The long-term wealthy and old money first construct their asset column. The money made from the asset column is then used to pay for their indulgences. Lesson number 10. You become what you study. The most common response to the question, "Do you want to be a millionaire?" is, of course, right? But the overwhelming majority of individuals don't devote their time and energy to researching and learning how to become one. According to Kiyosaki, one issue with education is that you frequently become what you learn. Hence, if you learn to cook, you can work as a chef. If you learn how to draw, you can be an engineer. Studying law qualifies you to practice as an attorney, while studying car mechanics qualifies you to work as one. I hope you received value from this video. If so, like, subscribe, and click the notification bell. Please share this video with your like-minded friends. Till next time.